Welcome to Shore Perspectives, a community feature of WESR Radio, highlighting the spirit of the shore from those who call it home.
My name is David Paranzino. I was living on the Eastern Shore. I moved there when I was 5 years old, and I lived there with my family for, I've lived there until 1974. Yep, I lived in Parksley. I went to Parksley High School from first grade until the 11th grade. That's when I relocated to California because I wanted to go to college at UCLA. Well, when I was probably about 10 or 11, my father, out of nowhere, approached me and said, "Would you like to play guitar?" My theory on that is that he probably saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and thought, wow, this kid ain't going to college. Maybe he can make some money playing music. So he bought me a guitar, and I took lessons from Jeff Smith in Hancock for a short time, but he taught me the basics. He taught me Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley, and he taught me Walk, Don't Run, some Venture songs. And then the rest came from a lot of my friends that I met there. I had a good friend, Carter Parks, who unfortunately recently passed away. He had loaned me several of his albums, and they were the Beatles, Deep Purple and Rock, George Harrison's solo album, the first one, All Things Must Pass, and Neil Young. And Neil Young was probably my first real early influence because I could play along with his records, and I felt very accomplished. I felt like if I could play a song that's on a record, I must be doing pretty good. So Neil was a big, big influence in my music, and I still love his music to this day. We tried to put together a small little band while I was in high school, and I know we played the talent show, or actually in our case, it was the talentless show, because we were pretty horrible. And from there, I played with my two very close friends, Clifford Nyron and Stuart Nyron. We had a band and we played around there. In fact, we played Armory Dances and the Elks Club and the Moose Club and things like that. Not too many. And actually, Frank Russell, the mayor of Parksley now, was our first lead singer. So we had a lot of roots there on the shore. But going back, my biggest influences were definitely H.M. Johnson, or Henry Johnson. We knew him as H.M. and his brother Johnny D, who was a tremendous drummer, and of course my band teacher David Steelman. David Steelman was my mentor as far as music. He was just a wonderful guy and very, very passionate about music and what he taught, and everybody loved the guy, and I miss him a lot. Players like Henry Johnson, Glenn Gord. Glenn Gord was a fabulous guitar player and also a good friend of mine, and he's well missed as well. But I moved to California. I played there for 10 years, went to school. Then I moved back because I realized that I could make a living better in the Virginia area, especially with all the colleges and things like that. I put together a band called the Boneshakers, and I was very fortunate to have one of the best musicians I could find. Mark Watts is my drummer. Paul Vogt was our lead singer and keyboard player, and Steve Sistrunk was our bass player. And all these guys were great musicians. Now, there are better musicians out there, but they were great band players. And there's a big difference between being a good player and being a good player in a band and playing along with other people. Randy Lewis was probably the first person to break us out there at his restaurant, the Island House, which was a wonderful restaurant. We would play some private parties there. The Virginia Beach scene was very, very hopping at the time. So we were playing 5-6 nights a week. So that kept us pretty busy. But Randy was wonderful. He had us over there several times, always treated us great, and became a big fan of the band. And along with him and Bill Licato's support of the band, I know he's played our music on his show several times. And there's so many people that have been big supporters of ours and have really helped us and encouraged us. We decided that we were working so much, and it was right when MTV was starting to get, I mean, it was big, but it wasn't as colossal as it was to become in its peak. And we decided, let's make a video. So we put together a demo of about 10 or 12 songs, and we gave them to a producer, and we said, you pick the song. Yes, so they picked a song that I wrote called In a Heartbeat, and we went and did the video. And I remember because it was Valentine's Day, and it was probably about 10 degrees in this, it was a former car dealership that we used. And there was already this beautiful pink Cadillac in the garage, nothing else, and one other old car. So they were perfect props. We formed in 1984. I remember the date exactly. It was November 10th, 1984. I know we would go, I know that when Mark was an addition, a newer drummer that we replaced the former drummer with. And his first job with us, we played at a bar that we knew the owners. It was a very small bar in Norfolk, and we played for free because it was basically our practice to break in the new drummer. So we played that one night. The next night, we were opening for the Hooters up in Fredericksburg in front of, I don't know how many, 5,000 students or so. And then so one night we'll be playing at a small club in Virginia Beach called Cafe Loco for about 200 people. And 2 or 3 nights later, we might be opening for Hart at the Dean Smith Center in Raleigh in front of 20,000 people. And to me, I always preferred the smaller venues, but you know, there's an in between. I'll take anywhere in between 200 and 20,000. Our last time we played was about 2 years ago. We did a reunion show at Peabody's, and I know they're already asking us to come back and do another show or two this summer. Of course, everybody's older, married, children, and things like that. So we're not the young single guys running around being able to jump in the van at the drop of a hat and go somewhere. To me, it's just the fact that I just love music. I especially love guitars. I've always told my girlfriend, I can look at a guitar and I can hear it. I know what that guitar is going to sound like. And that's why I have so many. And that's why I've spent the night on the couch many nights for buying so many. People ask me, you know, why I left the Eastern Shore. And I have a pretty good answer for that. I told people, I've lived in a couple of different resort areas. I've lived in the mountains in Lake Arrowhead, California, which is where everyone in LA wants to go on the weekend to get away from the city. If you lived in Disneyland, you wouldn't like Disneyland anymore. You'd take it for granted and like, you don't enjoy it anymore. And, but if you live somewhere else and go to Disneyland once or twice a year, then you love Disneyland. And that's the way it got for me on the shore. You don't take advantage of all the things that you have. They're the great seafood, the great people, less congestion, things like that. You take all that for granted while you're there. Then when you leave, you're going, oh, I want that again. That's one of the reasons I want to move back there.
For Shore Perspectives and WESR Radio, I'm Kelley Gaskell.